another thing is there's mechanical clocks, and you know, try to find somebody that can fix a watch these days. I mean, I used to use a jeweler in La Crosse to fix my clocks, and you know, he's 80 something, and he still can do it. But finding the parts for them, and they're just, you know, they're just going the way of the dinosaurs, I guess you'd say. The electronics, though, I mean, they give trouble, but usually when an electronic one fails, it's in some big catastrophic way. They either work or they don't work. There are times, though, and we've had to, you know, we've actually had modified them a little bit, where the electronic recorder, they've got a little bitty there's like a little transducer in there, and this thing's a little bit smaller than the diameter of a dime, and it's about the thickness of it's thicker than tin foil, but it's about the thickness of maybe a pop can. And the way that electronic recorder works is it's actually down there measuring current, and depending on how much that transducer is pushed, there's different amounts of current that it's actually recording, and then there's what's called coefficients. There's tables of coefficients, and it converts those different voltages or different amounts of current into pressure. Just almost like the way a mechanical recorder, you know, the way you would read them is it would measure the deflection and turn that measurement. Then you'd have a book, and the tester would, you know, you'd turn those deflections into pressures. Well, the electronic recorder turns those measurements of current into pressures, and you know, but there's times they go haywire. One of the maintenance issues on an electronic recorder, though, and if you get some real heavy mud and it gets dried up in that recorder, it can solidify up against that transducer, and then it'll make that recorder act real sluggish. In other words, if that recorder doesn't react, you know, like if you go to bottom and the tool opens and it doesn't look like, you know, if that recorder doesn't have some real sharp corners, you might you know, I would alert the tester and say, man, I don't know if and there again, run two recorders, because it's pretty rare that they would both do it. But if you got two recorders that are looking not matching as far as on how, like if they match on the shut-ins, but kind of one of them looks kind of lazy on the flows, or if the recorder doesn't go down, and like at the beginning and the end of the test, both recorders ought to be reading 0. There's just no reason at all why those recorders, if the only reason why, if a recorder's not reading 0 or with a pound or so of 0 at the beginning and the end of the test, something's plugging that recorder off and not letting that pressure dissipate away, and that would be dried up drilling mud or some kind of a, you know, some kind of crap's in that recorder plugging it off. Okay, let me go in here and we'll play around in ATMS 2000. Just from looking at the faces here, I can tell that several of you, this is going to be kind of old hat, because you've already got the software. It's available on our website, and we've even got some, you know, I've got some competitors that are using the same Weatherford recorders, and they're using ATMS 2000, and so you know, I think probably maybe three-fourths of the testing companies in Kansas are using this same software. One thing that's a little worrisome to me, and I've been addressing this. If you'll notice here, this September 9th, 2011. So far, and this is old software. And the reason why it's called ATMS 2000 is because that's what, you know, it's 10-year-old software. But no, so far they haven't figured out how to move that expiration date past 2011. Now they're starting to work on it. And I've been pestering them about it, because I don't want to, unless I'm out of business by then, I want to keep on being able to use this after that date there. But so far, you know, we're right at a year away, so I'm keeping the heat on them to go ahead and get that expiration date, the way to move that off into the future. And they're aware of that up in Canada, and they've got enough interest in selling recorders and keeping us happy that we're going to get that fixed. So anyway, but I'm just going to go through a whole bunch of tests here. Gosh, let's see here. And I've taken the operators' names out of all these, and the location, and here's one. And now there again, if you look, you can see the red, and then you can also see some black. See, here's one where you've got inside and outside recorders. See, they're just matching like you can't even see one for the other one. They're perfect match. But this is a kind of a strange looking test here. See how you've got the flow here. You've got fluid coming in. You've got a knife blade looking initial shut-in. You can see the same thing happening there. But when they went ahead and run that second shut-in longer, see you can actually see that one breaking over. But had the person, and then if you zoom up upon a closer examination, you can see something trying to flatten out here, but then you can see something else coming up and flattening out there. And a test like this would probably, I don't know, what would a test like this do to you, Bill?
Well, I can tell you right now, anytime that you see the derivative, if you lay a pencil across the curve, the pencil should, as you're moving from left to right, the pencil should flatten out as you're laying it on the curve. Anytime there's upward inflection in there, that means it's non-reservoir data. That's something outside the reservoir that has caused that. I have no idea what it would be, but it's not interpretable, and it's ignored in the interpretation. So in this case, everything from probably that 15 mark up to maybe 1730 mark is non-reservoir data.
It doesn't. It just means that it could be reading pressure from a tight zone.
No, we can't. You could have one zone that has 0 psi in it, and another zone that has 2,000 psi in it, and you would not have a curve like that. The curve is always going to flatten out. Always.
But I have seen where you get a buildup of a curve and then stop where it flattens out.
Yeah.
Because you got another one.
No, you've seen that, but that's not why. It can't happen. I can prove it mathematically to you, but what happens is the cross flow between those two zones, the cross flow will charge up that lower pressure zone. What you'll see is an average pressure of those two zones building up. I mean, that's the common misconception, is that anytime you see that curve going up and then take it again, that's a tighter zone coming in. That's not the case.
So what?
Like this.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That's not a second zone.
So is that a tool issue then?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not a reservoir issue.
Well,
You can take it out to the very extreme. Let's get 2,000 pounds and 0 pounds. If they're being tested in the same interval, what you're going to get is an average smooth curve if everything's working properly.
On that first curve, you said you would disregard between 1715 and 1730. What would you do with the stuff after 1730? Just
Yeah.
continue the curve?
That's probably okay.
Okay.
see
You
here's
have to look at it.
here's one, and I got my windows in such a way to where you can see this. 80 feet of anchor, tested everything from the B to the F, and you can tell it's depleted reservoir. I mean, you can certainly tell. I mean, you've got, I zoomed up on it in such a way that, and there, now look, notice this. Now when you zoom up there, the inside and outside, there is a little bit of a difference there, but then they come together. See how they're well, we'll zoom up a little more here and you can see, that one there is 341, that one there is 329, so there's about a 12-pound difference there. But then I'm not sure whether that's a little bit of something in the anchor that's inhibiting that one, or if it's the, because if you look at the end here, see, then they, by the end of the shut-in, they're fairly well matched.